Further update on Trey Hendrickson after yesterday?
Stinger, so we'll manage him during the week, but that came out good.
Any update on DJ potentially playing on Monday and where that stands?
Don't anticipate that happening this week, activating him on the 21-day window.
Would you probably not wait till after the bye at that point? Or?
I won't go that far yet, but it doesn't look like it'll be this week.
What about Logan?
Logan, I'm optimistic about Logan, so we'll see where it goes here these next couple of days. Every day that passes is good for him, so won't make any declarations at this point, but feel optimistic about it.
When you went back and watched the film, offensively, what stood out to you most after a night's rest and rewatching it?
Normal down efficiency, third down efficiency. They go hand in hand generally. 2 for 2 in the red zone. Our red zone gurus are all upset because we kneeled the ball on the 1 yard line, so it's going to knock down our efficiency down there. But did a nice job. So the guys really, those are the critical factors: third down efficiency, red zone efficiency, protecting the ball. I thought that was really impressive. I thought the protection was really good, really good. They had some empty pressures where they got one more than we can handle, just the way that the protection was turned, that Joe beat with a throw. And then there were the 3 sacks were really one of them, Ted took accountability for last night, and one of them they had a great protection look. That's more scheme related than anything else. And then 97 got us on one, and so I thought that they just did a really good job over the course of the game, allowing us to operate how we wanted to operate.
Who are your red zone gurus?
That's Troy and Brian get the initial plan, jump started there, and they do a great job with that.
How important was, we talked about the Boyd touchdown yesterday, but beating cover 2 with an explosive play, how important was that in the game, getting them out of that, and just also for the season, showing what you can do against that style of defense?
They play a little different style of cover 2 than we usually face. But it's just about starting fast, to be quite honest with you. It was less about having explosive versus a particular coverage. More just about, really the first play of the game was huge for us. TB getting 11 yards on the first 4-yard completion that we took. And that really, I think, set the tone for how we wanted to continue to play the rest of the game. It got us started. I lied to the guys. I said that was going to be the shot called on the first earned first down of the game, and TB got me more yards than I anticipated on the first play, and so I had to call on the second earned first down. So I lied to the guys in the Saturday meeting. But, I think that overall just being explosive helps us. We hit explosives against cover 2. We hit explosives against man yesterday, cover 3. I thought our guys did a really good job executing versus the different looks that we got.
What stuck out to you about Cam playing corner first game?
Well, it's just good to get his feet wet. It's his first game he's played in the NFL. He's got the right mentality for it. I think he's prepared the right way. You don't get a ton of snaps. It's hard to work multiple guys at positions over the course of the week. That's hard because you just get limited normal down reps, third down reps, red zone reps. And so I thought they did a good job with the plan during the course of the week, and then got a chance to throw him in there, and I thought he performed well.
You obviously want to see instinct from a guy like that when he has so many skill talents that he brings. Did you see that? Did you see him playing instinctively?
I think he did a nice job. There wasn't a lot of action that came to him, so to give the full evaluation of coverage and all that, there wasn't a lot of opportunity there. So the things that we asked him to do and the things he was presented with, I thought that he managed it really well.
Is that made open battle throughout the week?
We're not that far with personnel decisions yet, so again, the extra day allows us to make the best decisions we can make as we go forward.
Jamar said that the touchdown in the corner that Joe threw was their best connection, the best dime, he said, that Joe's thrown. I know you don't like looking back sometimes, but is that as good of a throw as you could see? What made that throw sort of, in your mind, did that fit that description as the best dime?
I don't agree. I think his throw to TB against Tennessee 2 years ago was better. Same direction, the anticipation. TB kind of ran over the ball at about probably 12 yards, and the ball was out of Joe's hands before TB even put his foot in the ground to come out of his break. So that would be number one for me. It's maybe his best one. Jamar wouldn't be a better judge of that than me. Jamar claims that was the best throw he's thrown to him. So that might be true.
What was the biggest difference you noticed after watching from the first half to second half defensively?
Biggest difference?
Yeah.
They they had some 3 and outs there, but really I thought outside of one drive where Atlanta did what Atlanta does, they suck out a lot of time. They run the ball efficiently on first, second down. There was only 1 third down. They had a good drive, and that one got us. And then they had the one play, where really we just had a coverage issue there. But aside from that, that's what you had to take a step back at halftime and say, okay, they had a good drive. They had a 1-play burst, and then they had a punt return. Aside from those last 2 plays, we played really good football. So let's not let the momentum get taken away from us here. And the defense did a good job coming out at half and setting the tone and allowing us to kind of get the momentum back there. So I wouldn't say there was a lot of changes there. I just think that they played really sound in the second half like they usually do.
Zach, lost in all of the offensive talk yesterday because of the performance. Joseph Ossai recorded his first NFL sack. I was talking to him after the game, and he was talking about how just it's been a learning experience for him to have to learn how to rush from the inside and how that's different from what he was used to in college. How have you seen him develop?
Yeah, it's just time on task. He hasn't had a lot of physical reps until this training camp, and so he wants to do well. He wants to do it the right way, and so he works at it. And those guys are hard on him, and he gets a chance to see some big time pros do it around him and learn from those guys. I think he takes that all to heart. He's been close a couple times. He's had some good rushes, so it was really good to see him get that first one out of the way. Because I'm sure that's on people's minds. As they get in there and that first sack when your pass rush is really your main focus, and so it's good to get that out of the way and just let him turn free from here.
Considering some of the guys that have been out, how big of a lift is Jay Tufele giving you up front?
Really good. I think Jay's stepped in and taken advantage of his opportunity, which we needed to happen. So Jay has done a great job. I think Zach Carter really stepped up yesterday as well. So both those guys they're maximizing their opportunity they're getting, and that's what it's about when you're a backup or a depth player. You just always have to stay ready because you never know when your number's going to be called. Those are 2 guys that their opportunity has been thrown at them more than they probably anticipated early in the year. And they're stepping up to the plate. And that's going to be good for us in the short term. That's going to be good for us in the long term. As we start to get guys back and healthy, now you've got guys who have experience there in the positions that we feel confident in to be able to turn to. So it serves us well over the spectrum of the season.
For the last 2 years, on the defense in particular, you've had a lot of guys come off the bench, or however you want to say it. Why have you been good at evaluating the right guys to add to the back of that room and getting them to play well when they're
That's a good starting point. I think what Duke and those guys do, they're so well researched on the types of players they want coming out of college. So a lot of it stems back to that, is making sure that we're even if we don't get them in the draft, there's so many guys that have come back to us. Joe Bocci, for example, Jay Tufele, guys that we really liked. I remember we spent a lot of time talking about them. We just didn't get them, and now they're back to us. And so Duke does a really good job of having conviction with the guys that he likes, and then finding the opportunities to get them back. We talked about B.J. Hill forever before we got B.J. And so that's obviously our confidence we have in Duke and our scouting department. They do an excellent job. And then the confidence we have in our coaching staff to develop these guys once we get them here, finding the right roles for them, and then maximizing their potential. I think that our staff has done a really good job of that.
Speaking of backups, Cam Sample just said there's kind of, in his own words, a craziness to Lou Anarumo that's just contagious with guys in the locker room that just makes them want to learn more. I mean, how contagious is his energy to where you guys have been having those second half shutouts this year?
I think we all have a lot of confidence in the position Lou puts these guys in, and the way he communicates to them, and his Staten Island demeanor, which these guys just have a ton of respect. I think I shouldn't speak for the players, but just the knowledge he brings into the room, the way that he maximizes guys in their roles and what he asks them to do, and they've just really bought in. It's a fun group. Lou does a great job leading the room and letting these guys' personalities shine through, number one. And number two, just putting them in the right spots to maximize their abilities, and he's done a great job of that. Go ahead, James.
The process going with Jay and evaluating him, obviously you had the pre-draft stuff, but when you found out he was cut and available, do you remember what that was like? How long of a conversation it was? Was it a conversation, or was it pretty quick that you were going to put in a claim?
To claim? That night you're going through the whole train. Duke's got all the scouts in his office, and it turns into a long night, whatever that is, Tuesday night. I always like to jump in there and just hear the conversations and just see what's out there. And so, they go through all the D tackles and talk through them. And Jay's the guy that stood out. And again, a guy that I know that Duke and those guys, it would have been probably, I would imagine Steve Radicevich out there on the West Coast. And just the reports that we had of him coming out, we liked his character, we liked his abilities, we liked his potential. And for whatever reason, Jacksonville moves on, new staff, they move on. And so now it's an opportunity for us to go get a guy that we really liked. And so it's just, the starting point's always with Duke and those guys doing a good job of deciding this is a guy we need to act on, and then the coaches working him into the plan.
This might be a better question for Duke, but is there a celebration of sorts when you get a guy like that you were potentially willing to draft, but it didn't fall that way, and now you get him essentially?
I don't know that they're popping champagne bottles or anything like that.
But, high fives?
It's not 72 Dolphins.
There's really good communication too. There's Duke's always making sure with the coaching say, there could be a guy that adamantly the coaches do not want in the building, and there's always that dialogue that goes back and forth. And at the end of the day, we come, there's always a general consensus of this is a guy we need in the building, and it starts with Duke, and he does a really nice job through the communication process there, which I can't speak for every organization. It may not always be that way, but here, they really do a nice job involving the coaches, which is appreciated, just so the coach's opinion is known, and then we move on from there.
The idea of patience. Zach, you talked about it after the 0-2 start. You mentioned it yesterday that you hoped everybody listened to you when you said just be patient, that it was early. I'm curious how hard it is to be patient as a head coach when you know what this team is capable of doing, what we've seen here the last 5 weeks. Was it hard internally in the building to remain patient after the 0-2 start?
No, it's not. It's more the external, just limiting the external factors that come into play there. But again, I don't really, that concern, I have to answer the questions in here to make sure we put that at bay. But in the locker room, I don't have the concerns because I talk to the captains. I know the veterans we have on this team. I know that they've been through it enough to know an 0-2 start is nothing to panic about. And because we can all see it. We all watch the tape together. We can all see the one or two issues that maybe got us off to a slow start. Now we're down 14-0, whatever it was. And it's hard to always verbally communicate that in here because you don't want to go through play-by-play and what should have happened, but our team saw it. And so there's no reason to not have patience because we just know it's a 17-game season. A lot can happen, and we felt like the team that we're starting to show right now is the team that we knew we were capable of being.
Along those same lines.
Go ahead, I'll let you follow up, and then I'll hit you, Ben.
4-3 at this point, tied for first place. How do you like your positioning, though, the way you guys have bounced back?
Really still a long way to go. We just got to continue to gain on this momentum of these past wins, but the path to where we want to be goes through the division. And so we know how important it is right now to get on the right foot in our division because so far we haven't started on the right foot. And so there's a lot that's going to go into the next 8 days getting ready for Cleveland.
Kind of along the same lines, y'all are at risk of going winless in the first round of divisional play. I mean, is that something that's been talked about? And
No.
how difficult, is that to do what you want to do, not picking up a win against each of the opponents first time through?
Well, all the teams present challenges because we're in a really strong division. And so each team presents new challenges. One is not like the other. I think this division is very unique in each of the four teams and their style of play. And so, we just got to get our guys in position to be ready because it is an important game. It's a divisional game. It's coming at a point in the season where we need to start to capitalize on some momentum. Our players recognize that, and they understand the work that's going to be needed to accomplish that.
Trey, after he got injured, I'm sure she was upset about the injury, but he was kind of gesturing back to the officials, and Sam said he's a little frustrated with some of the things not getting called. Have you gotten a sense that there's some things that they're missing with teams trying to block him, and can that contribute to like those situations where he's getting pulled back and injuries, and how do you help him out with some of that?
How do I help him?
You get to the officials and say,
Oh yeah. You must not watch me on this side. Yeah, I'm communicating as best I can. It's Trey's an issue for people, and so it's always going to be tough for them to try to contain him. He gets hits on the quarterback, he gets sacks, he affects the game that way. And so I would imagine he's usually a point of emphasis for the other teams as they go into their plans. And so, it's a challenge when you're not getting a penalty called every play and you feel like you should be getting it. That's part of the way it goes. I do my best to play my part and make sure they're aware when I think that he should get some help. But I think you hear some coaches around the league kind of echoing the same thing on their defensive performers as well. And so it's part of the game. There's a lot of elite pass rushers in this league. Trey's one of them. And, he wants multiple sacks a game, and I'm happy that he's got that kind of intensity and that urgency on every snap to affect the play. And so when someone puts that much energy into every snap, you can get emotional, and that's a good thing. That means our guys that means he's made of the right stuff, and it's important to him, and he wants to affect the game and do his job, and he's doing everything he possibly can to get that done. And so, again, he's going to challenge the officials sometimes.
And we referenced earlier with Luke, can you define Staten Island demeanor for us?
I'd just get him up here and ask him what it means. I don't want to get myself in trouble, so I'll stop.
The next to last play of the game, when you brought Hayden under center, got the false start, was that the goal, to get a false start, or was it to let him kind of seal the win against his former team?
No, that was something we've worked at that multiple weeks in a row now. This situation doesn't always rise. It just happened to really rise at that moment for him, which is probably special for him. But no, that's something we've implemented a couple weeks ago.
How much does the second half defense that you guys had, how much does that allow you to kind of do different things with your offense and approach the game differently, taking the ball first to start the game? Does it allow you to do different things offensively knowing that defense is there for you?
It does when you start the way we did. It's all built on that. And it feels like the first time we really had a lead in the second half all season, which is probably true. But the defense has been old reliable there in the second half and done a great job keeping points off the board and allowing the offense either to find the rhythm in some of the games or maintain the rhythm like yesterday. So it's something that's nice to fall back on.
I think Trey Taylor's top 3 or 4 in punt returns. What do you think of his performance and his catch it and go straight up the field?
Yeah, it's good. It's great, and he does a great job making that first guy miss typically, and then just getting what he can get. And even the one he fielded on our boundary late in the game on the hop, it's just getting north and south and getting us 5 extra yards. I'm the play caller in that situation, so it's always just get a couple more. And he does really nice. The first one he fielded, I think, on the 8 or the 9, and got us back to the 28. I went right to him after that. I said, I appreciate that. That 10 more yards is a big deal for us. And he's been a good decision maker and done a nice job.
Are you impressed by his backflip?
Tristan, if I can do a standing backflip, I'd be doing it as often as I possibly can so the whole world would know.
Zach, when you were talking about the AFC North and the 3 other teams, and you say the style of play for each team is different, what defines style of play in your mind?
Well, I don't know that I'll get into each team's style of play, but there is a rugged feel to the division overall. I think we all understand that. It's a slugfest when you get in these divisional games, but you look at each offense and defense, and they're all structured very differently. I wouldn't say the coverages carry over for each team. I wouldn't necessarily say the offenses carry over. They're all very unique in how they attack you. And the performance they have at key positions, can move around as well. So it's just, it's getting ready for a unique opponent each time you play the 3 other teams. I'm sure they look at us the same way. So that's just the way the division's built right now.
I know as coaches, you guys take it week to week, and each game requires a different style of play. You have your principles that you always want to do, but if you look from just the general view, better pass protection, got off to your fast start. Mm-hmm. What are some of the things, if there's any, that you still want to check the box on offensively?
That we haven't done? Mm-hmm. It's that's not how I look at it, I guess. It's just what do we have to do to perform at a high level in this next game. That's it. So it's there are things you want to continue to do that are core to how we operate on offense. But at the same time, they need to be unique to the next team you play. And it's not just rolling over the same plan you had last week, because again, the coverage structures could be different. Some of the coverage we saw last week against Atlanta may not show up against Cleveland. And so you got to build your concepts different ways to give you different answers versus the premier coverages that they play. And so that's just always, but what we're doing now and tomorrow, and just starting to formulate that plan and see what carries over, see what doesn't, and how you got to go attack Cleveland.